Brawl Stars' race to the 2025 World Finals is almost over, and pressure is at an all-time high. In North America, one team fought through some serious adversity to win, and we're going to be breaking down the insane plays and picks that helped them earn one of the biggest monthly finals of the year. North America has 3 direct spots to the World Finals and 1 to the LCQ. Prior to the July monthly finals, Tribe Gaming and Elevate had competed in the Grand Finals all 4 months, which meant that they had to do very little to qualify for the top 2 spots. However, the fight for the 3rd and the 4th seed was tight. Space Station Gaming, STMN, Kansas City Pioneers, Team Electros, and Longshot Eternal were all in the running for just 1 World Finals spot. Considering how close the point spread was for most of these teams, even just making the semifinals could be enough to shoot up the leaderboard. Notice how number 1 seed Tribe Gaming is listed 2nd in the matchup. This means that they were a lower bracket qualifying team. To qualify for the monthly finals, there is a large double elimination bracket. The 4 teams that go undefeated get matched up against one of the 4 lower bracket survivors. Despite starting the year with 3 straight monthly finals wins, Tribe Gaming had slowed down in the second half. RBM, Zeus, Luffy, and Coach Killer lost both of their LAN matches at the Brawl Cup, a $50,000 international tournament with top teams from around the globe. The tough stretch continued back in their home region, where they lost 0-3 versus Elevate in the Grand Finals of June, and then for the July monthly finals failed to qualify through the upper bracket due to a loss to number 7 seed Eternal 1-3. Due to all these losses, the narrative surrounding Tribe Gaming wasn't overly positive, and for the first time all year, they weren't the overwhelming favorites walking into month number 5. Despite this, they opened with a 3-0 win over number 6 seed Team Electros before facing number 4 seed STMN in the semifinals. On the other side of the bracket, defending monthly finals champion Elevate beat KCP 3-0, and Eternal had pulled off a shocking victory over veterans Bobby, Sands, and Chino 3-2. In semifinal number 1, Elevate handled business and beat Eternal 3-0, giving Elevate their 5th straight Grand Finals appearance. Of that initial second tier of teams on the leaderboard, STMN were the only one that remained. There were high stakes for this match. If Tribe lost, they would fall to the number 2 seed in the region entering the following month, which matters a lot for monthly qualifiers and World Final seeding. Higher seeding means that you play lower seeded opponents in your own region and internationally. If you get the number 1 seed, you're more likely to play lower seeded teams in other regions, which is a big deal if you want to become a world champion. Additionally, Tribe are fighting for pride in their legacy here. After going 0-2 at the Brawl Cup, they've been under scrutiny globally and have a lot to prove this postseason. STMN were fighting for the coveted number 3 seed and final World Final spot. With a win, they would overtake Space Station Gaming and be in a safer place for the 6th and final month. As individuals, this meant a lot to the players over at STMN. Tacos has never been to the postseason, and Juan Carlos's legacy has unfortunately been plagued by a cat despite making World Finals twice. None of the players on either team have ever advanced past the quarterfinals at the World Championship, so a win here would be an opportunity to prove yourself later down the line. This is what these guys fight for every single day. With high stakes set, the pressure was on, and this crucial match began on Triple Dribble. After some interesting bans from STMN, they elect to go with Hank, the number 1 overall pick for them, and something that you'll see a lot throughout this match. On the 2-3 turn, Tribe left me a little puzzled. They went with Crow and Ash. The Ash I understand because traditionally this has been a way to try and deal with the Hank, the spawners, and the robotic rats. Do really well into forcing Hank to either tank some shots or use his very long charged bubble into using it on the spawners rather than an enemy. I don't think the Crow's quite enough. This is probably a brawler that Tribe just particularly liked or in scrims found useful, but for me, it doesn't do anything to address the Hank, and I'm not really sure what they're trying to future-proof from the other end. They grabbed the B, which I was looking out for, and they slide through with Shade, which is a nice pickup. They now have some serious aggression. His hypercharge is nasty, and Shade's win rate was through the roof throughout the entire monthly finals. It's one of the better brawlers in the game. You have a goal scorer, a dynamic playmaker, and you can pierce through all those robotic rats. I feel like this is a really good draft from STMN. I'm not sure there's a perfect 6 pick out there for Tribe Gaming. With the B on the other end, it makes it a little harder to go Jackie, which is traditionally going to be used to counter the Shade, so now Tribe Gaming are in a little bit of a pickle. Tribe ended up selecting Kenji, which I don't think is the worst pick by any means, but I just feel like they're too behind in this draft. The Hank went unpunished, now you get Shade on top of that, and I feel like this STMN comp should just be running rampant, and that's exactly what we're going to see in this set.
It's not a direct response. And Tacos is so dangerous. But now, Tribe with an early start, a bit of a breakaway. And again, Tacos again. There's so much coverage on this map to utilize, and the speed of which they can bring this ball forwards again might even equate to another early goal. And it is in 14 seconds to play this time round. I mean, Tribe had the perfect opportunity to do something about this, and they just didn't.
They're going to feel the heat from that hypercharge once more. Payne looking for the pass. Taco's still alive. An open goal for STMN to walk this one on through. And I'm just mind blown. Why didn't they counter the Shade? Either there's something that I'm missing, or this is a massive blunder a mistaken Kenji pick, it just doesn't make sense to me.
With Tribe down 0-1, we head over to Ring of Fire, and for the first overall pick, Tribe lock in Lumi, which makes a ton of sense. Lumi is still a great brawler, it's somebody they're continuing to balance, but until they really nail the damage and gadget combo, it's going to be a brawler that I think runs rampant. At the 2-3 turn, STMN grabbing Nasty combo in Gray and Hank. At this point, Tribe need to address the Hank. It's something I didn't think they did well enough in their first set, and in set number 2, they will not make the same mistake twice. So with picks 4 and 5, Tribe Gaming go with Pam and Bell, and I actually really like this. Pam is a very underrated brawler in Hot Zone, and mostly due to the Scrapsucker gadget. The Scrapsucker gadget is an easy way to take on enemy tanks, especially those brawlers with slower reload speeds that are running at your face. You use the Scrapsucker gadget, you're siphoning off their ammo, and now they're just kind of a sitting duck, so you can line up shots, and especially in tandem with the Bell, where you've got the damage amplifier, you can get a quick burst of damage and some kills. Adding the Bell also lets you outrange the Gray, so in a one-on-one matchup, advantage Bell, you have the marker onto Hank, and you have the Scrapsucker gadget and a little healing station for support, so the Bam Bell combo makes Tribe's comp really good. Juju is the final selection coming out of STMN, and it's not a bad pick, but I think on paper, I really do think Tribe are at a bare minimum even here, or maybe even with an advantage. Juju, of course, has really good matchups on paper, but this is a fairly open map. I feel like Tribe Gaming just have a good enough composition here where they should probably be able to handle the other side. Unfortunately for Tribe, though, STMN were simply the better team in this set.
They're all over this point. They got to be aware. Payne's position. Here he comes. A sneak attack on the left side. TP in from Juan Carlos, and just like that, it's back in STMN's hands. Tribe Gaming need to get a Lumi Hypercharge out right now, but he doesn't seem to be close enough. Now pops the Hypercharge. Super in, but it's too little too late. STMN get game 1. Thankfully, the Morningstar comes in because Luffy was not going to get that kill shooting through the Gree. Now, Punishment in once again. This is the raw power of the Gray and Hank combo. They put Juan Carlos in an aggressive position, and then they sustain. Another super out from Zeus. This is what they needed after game number 1. They didn't have this cycle, and now they've got it going. They're counting up to 100, both teams, in fact, because Tribe Gaming hasn't managed to get a solid foothold on this point.
Juan Carlos is doing a fantastic job here, but now Tacos brings the final percentage for his team. He should surely fall, but he has got the TP and survived for a much longer amount of time than I gave him credit for. His teammates now in the zone, and now it is dangerous territory for Tribe Gaming. Celebrations to STMN, hopefully not too premature, but they had 2 sets to 0 against Tribe in what is probably the most important monthly final for STMN to get this right.
Tribe Gaming were now down 0-2, and if they lost one more set, they would be eliminated at the earliest stage of their entire season. Set 3 took us to New Horizons, a knockout map that recently got added to the rotation. First pick overall is Angelo for Tribe, and Angelo's success rate at a pro level is really high on these knockout maps. The issue is you might leave yourself vulnerable to spawners or getting countered out since you selected him so early, but the success is really high with him. Angelo is a pretty darn good brawler in these game modes, so I'm not going to fault Tribe too much here. Considering the bans and Angelo being the first overall pick, Kaze is left open, so this is an easy scoop for STMN where they pair this with Jae Young. Kaze and Jae Young are a great combo, but the way that Tribe wins this is getting beefy. If they add enough health points onto the ground, somebody like Kaze is an assassin, does a lot of damage, but assassins don't always kill tanks quickly enough, and of course Jae Young is definitely not known for his damage. He's more of a support option. So Tribe Gaming go with Pearl and Hank. The Pearl may be a little more unorthodox for some of you all, but at pro level she does show up quite a bit. The poke damage is really nice, and if she's passive in a mode like KO, which is very normal, she charges up her shot and does more damage. Hank, of course, is one of the better tanks in the game right now, can put some pressure on the other side, and is really difficult for Kaze and Jae Young to take down. To make this work, I think STMN needed a heavy damage dealer at the end here. The only way you're going to bring down this Tribe Gaming composition is if you have enough firepower to take him out quickly. They end up going with Sprout, which I think I understand the logic. They want to throw her, and on paper, the Sprout wall is nasty into all these brawlers, and it's a rare brawler that shows up here, but certainly a worthwhile shout out. Outside of Kaze, I think the damage numbers are just too low. Sprout, while he can cut things off, is still not going to get quick takedowns. Jae Young is not known for his damage, and Kaze can do a good job at doing damage, but she's more interested in squishy brawlers, not beefy brawlers like Hank and Pearl. I thought this was a nice step up in the draft strategy for Tribe Gaming, and more what I'm used to seeing out of these guys.
Here comes some aggression onto Zeus. RBM's looking for something on Juan Carlos, also splitting up the team. Now Fanstorm in hypercharge style from Tacos. That's Juan Carlos stuck outside. He's going to be the last one to fall. Now they're going to opt to do it across the middle. Payne's going to get taken down though. What was he thinking going so aggressive? Juan Carlos in the same boat. He'll get pressured by Zeus from the top, and Tacos is the only one left alive.
Going to be a chance for Tribe to get some utility, and that's a very swift takedown.
What Tribe Gaming do this time differently, because they've already won 3 rounds in a row. Hypercharge in from RBM and taken down. The best target for them is going to be Zeus since he has the lowest HP. Now Hypercharge pop for Juan Carlos. He's trying to get a takedown on the right side, but Luffy is moving away, blocked off on the left, and Pain on the right side is trying to pursue Zeus. But it just doesn't look possible for them to get this victory here. The 2v3 is almost never a winning situation here in Knockout, and as Juan Carlos falls, Pain is soon to follow. A set victory for Tribe.
With Tribe Gaming on the board, we head to set 4, which is Hard Rock Mine. Once again, Hank is going to be the first overall pick for STMN, but what's a surprise is what Tribe Gaming does on the 2-3 turn. Finks isn't nearly as popular in this meta, but he does show up in Hot Zone in some gym grab maps, so he's not out of the meta per se, he's just not at the tippy top like he once was. Colonel Ruffs is a rare one, but one that Tribe Gaming for whatever reason really like on this map. Since the Brawl Cup days, I've noticed that they use this a good bit in scrims and in their matches. They use Ruffs probably more than any team on the planet that I can think of off the top of my head. It's a really interesting combo, but I don't think it's a bad combo. I will say that this combo doesn't necessarily directly address Hank, which is something I would have liked to see, but they still have another pick at the end to try and deal with that. It's back to STMN and they go with Gus and Lily. I like Lily in this game mode. In gym grab, it makes a lot of sense to grab her because she is such a heavy hitter and obviously has that big upside for her. You have the hypercharge and gadget combo. You hypercharge in, get the kill, grab the gems, and just when you need to get out, you hit your gadget and you get away scot-free. It just allows you to not be the better team for an entire set, takes the pressure off you a little bit, and you always have a comeback mechanic in you. Gus into a Finks super isn't great. Finks' super is known for taking on single projectile brawlers and allowing the enemy team to dodge them super easily. Additionally, they're playing in their Colonel Ruffs, which actually has a gadget that does really well into single projectile brawlers. If he drops his sandbags, he has 3 little deployables that can absorb shots, and it takes those single shot brawlers a long time to get through them. So while Gus helps out the teammates, he's not very good into the enemies. So this is a little bit of give and take here, and I don't think this was the best choice. I think there were probably other calls out there that they could have made instead of Gus. This was already interesting enough of a composition for Tribe Gaming, but to add another layer to it, they go with Buzz, a super underrated brawler in this map and a very unused one at the pro level. Buzz will show up every once in a while, but he's not an S tier kind of brawler. This is a really hard brawler to pull off in your casual games, let alone your pro games. Buzz has a few benefits on this map, the first being vision. Because of the circle around him and when he naturally charges his super, if his super's charging, it triggers you to know where the other enemies are. So if they're in somewhere in this patch of grass around you, you'll at least know that Buzz is surrounding them. Secondly, he's a playmaker, and that's something in gym grab that you always need. We just talked about how Lily hypercharge gadget combo can be really good, and I would say that's probably the best comeback mechanic in gym grab right now, but Buzz certainly has one. The stun allows you to make big time plays, swoop in, grab the gems, gadget, and get out. Knowing how difficult this is, they hand off Buzz to RBM, one of the greatest tank players of all time. RBM is going to have to be the star player of this. If Buzz is not doing well, the team is going to fall behind. Lily and Hank are going to overrun them, so they have to find a way to capitalize on this Buzz pick. STMN have 3 very stereotypical brawlers for this meta, and meanwhile, Tribe Gaming are getting unique with it. This is something that STMN I'm sure weren't prepared for, and of course Tribe Gaming had in their back pocket, and boy did it pay off.
Tribe Gaming have control at the moment. Pain has a bunch of sandbags to chew through. Juan Carlos, go take him down with your bubble, please. Oh, hypercharge out from Tacos on the left side. Goes for 1, looks for 2. Juan Carlos in with the surprise hypercharge as well. Now, here comes the hyper for RBM. He's off to the races, looking straight for the lifeline of the team. Pain blasts him away with the bubble. Juan Carlos needs to kill. Double stun for RBM, and he's got all the support in the world. Tribe Gaming, what a reactive play and a comeback. They have 14 gems to their name, and they're only 10 seconds for STMN to bring it home to the enemy side. Tacos is equipped with a super, but he needs to get onto Luffy or onto RBM. Almost an upsetting moment there on the right side. Gonna be coming out of the Shadow Realm. Now, interruption on the right side. Mutually assured destruction. RBM also almost able to pick up these gems, and another interruption. As we see all of these hovering over the head of Luffy. STMN, though, they must be out of gas. I don't think they can bring this back.
It's going to be a very tough thing. It's down to Tacos, really. RBM's low, but he's not the person that they need to go for. It's Luffy that they need to be able to assert all their pressure to, and he should be safe and sound. That was unreal. Absolutely unreal from RBM. I mean, the only way that he really got out with those gems was to get a double stun, and he landed the mark. It really brings Tribe now into an advantageous position. One more game away from making it all tied up. And it's all thanks to RBM. He absolutely stole the show there.
This is going to go to a tied tempo. They can trade out gems here. That countdown is bound to come pretty soon. Here comes RBM right after the hypercharge from Juan Carlos, and he cycles the stun as well. Pain still without a super. Thankfully, he's got Tacos to peel for him, but Zeus is going to grab this gem and go 1 gem closer to tying up this countdown. Juan Carlos is here as a deterrent and looks for the bubble onto Luffy, but misses. Luffy teleported away to keep this gem count tied, 10-10. Next gem goes to STMN. Tribe Gaming had to fire back. They are fighting a 2v3, so it's not going to be favorable. Luffy doesn't have a gadget either. It's going to STMN, and now Tribe have to get to STMN spawn.
RBM's in pursuit. He finds Pain. That's huge. The reset is there. And maybe the escape. No, shut down by STMN. 12 stars to 12 gems rather to 11. And now the 12 will spawn for Tribe Gaming. That was a huge moment there. And now it's bought Tribe just a little bit of time. But sometimes time is all you need in gem grab. It's countdown for STMN, but still, it can be reset from a gem in the mid. Time warp down and back into the hands of Luffy. And RBM is not done yet. Finds Juan Carlos as well, continuing to keep the pressure on.
12 gems now for STMN, but they got to get one more. Hypercharge now over to RBM. He's not going to be taking it, not quite yet. Just a few seconds left. Everyone here from Tribe needs to stay alive. Juan Carlos trying to move in. Taco's going to pop out of the Shadow Realm, and RBM taken down, but Tribe Gaming still have all 13 gems that they needed.
RBM's heroics drug this match to a set 5, and it all came down to hot potato. Tribe Gaming at the first overall pick see the bans in lock in Ali, the newest brawler, and a very good one at that. With Ali being at the top of the draft, this gives STMN time to react, and the one thing that I would like to see out of STMN is getting beefy. Ali is an assassin. She's going to capitalize on those squishy brawlers, and it's going to be harder for her to take down the tankier brawlers. STMN choose to go with Amber and Bull. I really like this Bull pick, having a shotgun brawler to Ali, somebody that's good at high safe damage, and somebody pretty solid in the meta for high specifically is awesome here. Amber, I'm not so sure about. While Amber isn't a bad brawler on this map, I don't think it necessarily helps into Ali, and I would say if Ali can just get through that first layer of a gadget through Amber, it's actually going to be a pretty easy matchup, I think. Tribe Gaming once again get tricky with it and draft Draco and Rico. The Draco is normal, his hypercharge is insane, and he's one of the better brawlers in the game right now. What's real interesting is this Rico pick, which is some old-timey Brawl Stars, but his DPS is crazy if you can get away with it. They actually hinted at this being a possible strategy in their ban stage. It's just really hard to catch because Rico's a really unpopular brawler, but with no Colonel Ruffs and no Griff, you eliminate the piggy bank and Ruff Super, which can take down those walls. With the final pick, STMN go with Hank, which was one of their most selected brawlers of the entire match. Even before the hypercharge, Draco was a way to deal with Hank, one of the most common ones at a pro level. I'm not sure if this was an oversight or just a belief in Hank, but for whatever reason, I don't love this choice. With the drafts locked in, the only thing left to do was to play out this intense match.
Final shield now brought out. Zeus is still having to play around the mid, but he's not being given a good matchup. He should have been playing around mid, instead opted to take the matchup versus Pain. And Tacos is literally allowed to straight line down the field, needs 2 more shots. Even a super could do it. 1 more shot, no. The pitiful reload speed of Bull came back to bite him, and Zeus gets the kill. 22% remains on STMN safe. It's anyone's game right now. A super from Zeus could change everything. Even Luffy's gonna go for it. STMN full commit. Hypercharge forward from Juan Carlos. A super from him, and the final bubble to take down Tribe Gaming in this game and send STMN to a match point. We'd love to get a matchup at mid, but when no one is playing mid, then he doesn't really have any great positions. But Tribe Gaming have punched through. Juan Carlos is doing his best to defend, but just doesn't seem to be working out. Meanwhile, on the side of Tribe Gaming, we have seen that shield dropped down. The second one of the game. RBM gets the wipe on 2 brawlers on this side, and now will bring STMN safe down to 32%, close to that final shield.
Insane from RBM. Now Luffy can get that stage down as well, and RBM continues the assault. Hypercharge down to Juan Carlos, and that's going to be the safe. Absolutely decimated. Tribe Gaming level it out. It's match points, going the distance in North America for the grand finals. We wouldn't have it any other way.
Respawning and circling around to the left side. It's a close game, only 11% separation, and this shield is bound to come out from Tribe Gaming's side. But RBM wins the victory on this right side, has this position to get the safe taken down to just 25%.
Oh, Luffy's being sneaky. He finds the save as well, and Zeus with a lovely super as well. Once it's down, 3%. Tribe just need a couple more taps, so there's no one there to get the damage. 21% needed for STMN. RBM going straight down the middle with the hypercharge. The Dragon's Breath gets the high safe, and somehow, some way, Tribe Gaming have done it. They've survived. They've made the grand finals and full reverse swept STMN.
Tribe Gaming took one of the most exciting matches of the entire season and made their 5th straight grand finals in 2025. They once again played Elevate, but this time won 3-1, allowing them to sit atop North America going into the final month of the regular season. Thank you all so much for watching, and if you made it this far in the video, I'd really appreciate it if you dropped a like on it. It's a super free and easy way to help me out. If you find yourself coming back on the regular, be sure to subscribe, and with that being said, we'll see y'all in the next one.